Steven tWitch boss mom details estrangement from grandkids after his death. Steven tWitch boss mother Connie Boss Alexander and his brother Dre Rose share the events that led to their estrangement from his and Allison Holker's children Maddox, Zaya, and Wesley. Steven tWitch boss mother wants to repair her relationship with her grandchildren. More than 2 years after the Ellen DeGeneres Show producer's death by suicide, Connie's relationship with his wife, Allison Holker, and their children Maddox, 8, Zaya, 6, and Wesley, 16, became strained. And as she recalled, the tensions first began when she traveled from Arizona to California to help make arrangements for the funeral in late 2022. The intent was to grieve together, to be a family together, because we are a family, we are boss, Connie told Gayle King in a CBS Mornings interview alongside son Dre Rose that aired February 11th. And we wanted to be there for her. We were trying to figure out what we were going to do, or what she wanted to do, in terms of plans. And I get a phone call saying we need you guys to sign non-disclosure agreements, she continued. And we're like, why? What's going on? What is this for? And she says, well, somebody in the family has sold a story to a magazine. Connie alleged that at the time, Allison, who was married to Steven for 9 years, accused his grandfather of selling the story. If you know my dad, he is the most respected, the most integrity, would never do that, Connie explained. So, a magazine did call him, and in the throes of his grief my father answered the phone, and they asked him questions, and he answered questions saying we're grieving. We don't know what happened. But it was at that point that it became, you guys are doing this. We need you to sign this, the matriarch continued, and we were like, no, that's not true. And that's kind of where it started. It went downhill from there. According to Connie, she has only seen Steven's children twice since his death. However, she and Dre are leaving the door open for reconciliation and have extended the offer for conversation that they say has gone unanswered by Allison. I feel like we extended our hand the past 2 years, Dre said. And there hasn't been consistency. There's been many messages or phone calls where we have been left on read or not acknowledged. To me, it's changed behavior. So if you make an act that shows kindness, if you embody the spirit that my brother had of kindness and love and light, give that light to his family. Help his family heal because we're going through it as well. Amid the estrangement, Boss family also expressed frustration over Allison's memoir This Far, which the So You Think You Can Dance alum shared insight into what she learned from Steven's private journals as well as alluded to his alleged drug use and financial issues. I immediately was like, oh my God, Connie told Gayle about Allison's memoir. And then it was, this is going to be out there for the kids to see. Despite the public tensions, Allison said that she hopes that Connie and the rest of the Boss family will have a relationship with her kids. Connie has and will continue to be a positive and loving figure in Maddox and Zaya's lives, Allison said in a statement to E! News in part February 10th. We hope to continue these traditions over the years and work together to keep Steven's memory alive. Keep reading for more bombshells from Allison's book on being taken advantage of by an older man. In This Far, Allison Holker recalled how she left her church in high school and got backlash from her community. I believed that I was a terrible person and that God hated me, the author wrote. And then, at 17, I had an experience so traumatizing that it seemed to confirm in my own mind the worst that people were saying about me. Allison declined to go into detail about what happened, but noted that the fallout touched every part of my life. There was an incriminating little voice inside my head telling me that it was my punishment from God for having turned my back on religion, she added, which I now can see was a terrible insult to God. Wanting to put the incident behind her, Allison continued, she kept it a secret. In retrospect, I wish I had taken action, she shared. I have so much sympathy and compassion for those in similar situations who are too scared to speak out. I hope by giving voice to my regrets, I motivate others to stand up for themselves. Allison further opened up about her experience in a recent interview. I had some older men really take advantage of the vulnerability that women go through, especially in the dance community, where we look up to our teachers and we just trust them, she said on the January 27th episode of the Jamie Kern-Lima Show. And dance can be very physical. It can be very sexual, even at a young age. That was taken advantage of. How she actually met Steven, tWitch boss. After Allison competed on season 2 of So You Think You Can Dance and Steven, tWitch boss, danced his way to second place on season 4, they both returned for season 7 in 2010. However, their meet cute didn't actually occur there. In my mind, season 7 is when we met, Allison wrote, but that's not technically true. Instead, the pair met 5 years prior at a party hosted by her season 2 dance partner Ivan Kumev. One of the people Ivan knew from the hip-hop world approached me during the party, Allison shared. "Hey, I'm tWitch," he said. "tWitch, huh? That's cute," I said. "What's your real name?" He appraised me admiringly. He'd been in Los Angeles for a while, he explained, and I was the first person who had asked him that. "Steven boss," he replied. Still, it wasn't exactly love at first sight. It was obvious he had fun energy, but I could not get past his appearance, Allison admitted. His fishnet top revealed piercing in both nipples, those in addition to piercings in his nose, eyebrows, lip, and chin. Also, he had dyed his hair blonde and was rocking a mohawk. It was too much for this Utah girl, okay? Their memorable meetup at a Glee performance. However, a romance eventually formed, with Allison noting she and Steven officially got together at a wrap party for season 7 of So You Think You Can Dance. Looking back at a memorable meetup in the early days of their relationship, she recalled how Steven was part of a dance ensemble for the opening act of the Glee Live in concert tour and how they had been exploring the arena at one of his shows in Dublin before things got steamy. "We ended up in the scaffolding above the stage, don't ask me how, and started making out," she remembered in this far. "One thing led to another until we were in flagrante delicto. I can't lie. It was one of the hottest things I've ever done. We were almost caught in the act by a security guard who appeared out of nowhere, shined his flashlight near us, and announced, 'Who's up there?' We stifled giggles until the coast was clear, then hastily got dressed and rejoined the concertgoers." The pressures of social media. Fast forward to 2013 when Allison and Steven tied the knot. Already parents to Wesley, born in 2008 from Allison's past relationship, together they welcomed son Maddox in 2016 and daughter Zaya in 2019. The family members offered glimpses into their lives on social media, posting footage of everything from their dance parties and Halloween costumes to their everyday lives at home. However, Allison wondered if social media became a stressor for Steven toward the end. "He had it in his head that we should always look like that perfect family," she wrote, which was unrealistic. And Allison believes the constant praise Steven received for his overwhelmingly positive personality created a level of pressure. As his fan base grew by leaps and bounds, he couldn't step out in public, not to go grocery shopping or to the movie or out to eat, without being complimented on how joyous he was, how loving he seemed, how much positive energy he spread to everyone, she wrote. How he must have pushed himself to always come across as the person whom others saw. How exhausting it must have been for him. Still, Allison stressed the joyful moments captured in their videos were real. Steven was navigating a complex emotional landscape, she added. He fluctuated between genuine happiness and profound sadness, flipping between the two as if his brain were a dimmer switch. On the end of The Ellen DeGeneres Show. After 19 seasons, The Ellen DeGeneres Show ended in May 2022, a bittersweet moment for Steven, who served as both DJ and, eventually, executive producer. He was sad to leave his other home, but at the same time he saw it as an opportunity to shed his DJ role and branch out into new, more ambitious ventures, she wrote. Would he have liked to have taken Ellen's place and become the host? 1000% yes, but several months of discussions with the network went nowhere. Steven was disappointed, but in typical tWitch fashion, he framed it in a positive light, because they were quite booked and busy. I don't believe the end of the show was destabilizing because he wasn't out of a job, she said. We had so many projects in the pipeline. However, it caused a shift in Steven's routine. For 9 years, the show had given his days a structure and rhythm, she explained. No longer bound to a schedule, Steven had more time to spend inside his head. The dark corners of his mind were not a healthy place for him to poke around in. The internal turmoil that he had suppressed while portraying happy-go-lucky tWitch on a daily basis started bubbling to the surface. According to Allison, Stephen also became more irritable, lost sleep, and showed disinterest in work, hanging out with friends and participating in activities he used to enjoy. His experiment with ayahuasca. According to Allison's book, Stephen decided to go on a trip to explore ayahuasca. The experience, which is guided by a shaman, is known for inducing intense hallucinations, altered perceptions of reality, and deep introspection, she shared. Stephen's motivation was to confront the pressures of fatherhood, grapple with the absence of father figures in his own life, and address his feelings of abandonment. However, things didn't go as intended, and Stephen had a friend pick him up early. I've come to understand that the recommended duration for such experiences is 3 to 7 days, with weeks of follow-up work supervised by the shaman, she wrote. Stephen returned home after less than 12 hours and threw himself back into work. Allison suggested that only exacerbated the situation. I've since learned that for individuals with underlying mental health issues, ayahuasca can exacerbate deep-seated problems, she wrote. It can bring those issues to a boil, if you will, if there is not close supervision. As the Dancing with the Stars alum put it, Stephen was never the same afterward. The energy he gave off was different, she continued. It was not joyful, not so generous. It was like every day he woke up on the wrong side of the bed. He wasn't angry or mean to people. He just seemed agitated. On Stephen's alleged drug use. In this far, Allison revealed what she learned about Stephen's alleged drug use. She knew that he smoked marijuana. She acknowledged, however, I had no idea that Stephen was in an almost constant state of being high. He was even sneaking out to smoke on the Ellen set. And, to the best of my knowledge, nobody knew. After later going through his phone app, Allison realized he was visiting one of the handful of dispensaries in our area every night. Following Stephen's death in December 2022, she recounted, she was going through his closet to pick out a pair of his beloved sneakers for his wake. What I found was a lot more than shoes, she wrote. There were Ziplocked bags of psychedelic mushrooms. Some of the bags were full. Some were half empty. A few contained only 1 or 2 mushrooms. There were other substances that I had to look up on my phone. It was a cornucopia of drugs. I was stunned. An autopsy obtained by E! News in May 2023 determined Stephen had no drugs or alcohol in his system at the time of his death. How they celebrated their anniversary days before his death. On December 10, 2022, 3 days before Stephen died by suicide at age 40, he and Allison celebrated their 9th wedding anniversary with a trip to Laguna Beach, California. During their weekend getaway, they discussed having more kids, purchased a sculpture together, and she shared with him a song she wrote called Better Together. He, in turn, gifted her a black Prada suit. Now, she reflected, the questions are endless. Did he buy me a black Prada suit so I'd have a nice outfit to wear to his funeral? And if he did, was it one last gesture by an incurable romantic or just messed up beyond belief? On Stephen's last day. In the book, Allison detailed the last time she and her kids saw Stephen. She and Zaya had returned from taking Maddox to school, she wrote, and Stephen was talking to their assistants and nannies before driving Wesley to class. As they headed out the door, I said, "See you. Love you," Allison remembered. I didn't even say goodbye. After a Starbucks run, she continued, Stephen took Wesley to school and told the teen, "I wish I could have been your Superman." It was an odd statement, but Wesley didn't dwell on it. She dismissed it as a weird dad moment, Allison said. They exchanged I love yous before he pulled out of the school lot. It was the last time she would see him. I can't get it out of my head that Stephen was already saying goodbye in his own way hours before he disappeared. Later, Stephen didn't meet her at the gym or office as planned, but still replied to messages from their team about a video shoot set for the next day. That afternoon, Allison saw his car in the driveway, but soon realized he wasn't home. In the book, she recounted trying to contact Stephen but receiving no answer, leading her to reach out to his assistant, brother, friend, and hospitals and file a missing persons report. While Allison says she thought Stephen had possibly checked into a recovery center, police then informed her he died by suicide December 13, 2022. I raced down the hall shrieking, she wrote. The sound that escaped from my throat was feral. on his funeral. Stephen's wake was held in January 2023. In the book, Allison noted there were elements of the service she and his family disagreed on, including his family wanting an open casket. Ultimately, she decided a small group of his family members could view the open casket before it was closed for the remainder of the wake, adding that no photos or videos could be taken out of fear they'd somehow end up online. At the advice of my lawyers, I insisted that everybody who viewed the open casket sign a non-disclosure agreement to protect Stephen's privacy, a requirement that exasperated his family, Allison shared. If we have to sign NDAs, they said, then everybody has to sign NDAs.